This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This is the moment.
The Bachelorette is back. Yeah! And the power
I'm gonna fall in love.
is in Jen's hands.
And I'm gonna do it my way.
ABC Mondays.
Everything about her is great.
I feel so special.
Jen's looking like a queen.
My men are very, very hot.
Someone call 911. You are looking so fired.
This is the beginning of a new era.
The Bachelorette. All new Mondays, 8/7 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
In the game The Oregon Trail, perhaps the most memorable end is when your character dies of dysentery. Well, that seems like a walk in the park to everything listed or described in this film, making me wonder if it's less a fictional tale and more a public service announcement that there is, in fact, 1 million ways to die in the West. Either way, we're here to prove to you that the movie is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies and a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. All right, listeners, saddle up, because we're going out to the Wild Wild West. And no, we're not talking about the Will Smith film. We've already covered that one. No, we are talking about 1 million ways to die in the West. Luckily, we're not going to count each and every single one of them. But here to join me on this trip through a comedy frontier, my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing today?
I am doing great, partner. How are you?
Saddle up, Carrie.
Saddle up. Whoo.
I'm going to ride you through this entire show. Yeehaw!
Like Sarah Silverman?
Oh, God.
Who didn't take a ride? No, I'm...
Right?
I went there already.
The Village Pony right there.
Woo!
All right. So, A, we are talking about 1 million ways to die in the West. We're going to spoil the F out of the film. So if you have not seen it, pop on over to Prime. You can find it there. Now, let me explain. Sometimes when it comes to picking the films, we take suggestions from you, our dear listeners. Sometimes when the guest comes on, they have a movie that they have in mind. And then, every now and then, I'll see a trailer for a film. And I will text Carrie and I will sit there and say, I have found a very Carrie movie. And yes, it qualifies. So before we even get into this film, I have to ask you, is this a very Carrie movie?
Oh my God. By definition, it was almost like kindly this movie was produced to fit the mold of a very Carrie movie. It is absolutely perfect. There is groin shots and like
poop humor
and
and
I didn't want to say
noises.
that. And there's fart jokes and there's dick and fart jokes and there's horrible, awful ways to die in the West. And it is absolutely perfect. It's funny. It's completely out there and just it is inappropriate humor and it's perfect. That's all I'm going to say. It is so good.
Dear listeners, I know you came here to listen to us talk about a movie, but let me give you a little bit of relationship advice here. If you're looking for a girl to marry, you find yourself a girl who enjoys dick and fart jokes, poop humor, nut shots, and lots of coarse language. I got me that girl. I win. I win at the everything.
Taken.
like how do you look at that and likes walks on the beach, skip. Likes, moonlight dinner, skip. Likes dick and fart jokes and poop humor and nut shots. Count me in. Sign me up.
And that's how I wound up in the value bin.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So before we devolve further than we already have, because I am predicting right now that this is going to devolve into one of those conversations where there are more bleeps than words, I think, in this episode here. So in saying that, before we dissect this movie, let's take a million ways I told you, more bleeps, right? Let us take a million ways to die in the West and trailerize it.
From the mind that brought you a TV show about a baby who fantasizes about matricide, and a film about a crass, horny stuffed animal hopped up on drugs and somehow gets more attention than Mark Wahlberg, comes a film about a man in the most dangerous part of the country, during the most dangerous time in history, and is the most ill-equipped to deal with it. Seth MacFarlane steps out of the voiceover booth and onto the screen as Albert Stark, the ultimate hypochondriac sheep farmer. He's afraid of everything, incapable of achieving anything, and so utterly useless that you're surprised he's not dead before the opening credits even finish. But after getting dumped after a year and a half by a girl who clearly takes 18 months to process his worthlessness, he meets Anna, the wife of the most ruthless killer in the frontier. With her help, she'll make him slightly less than worthless, slightly better than useless, and somehow she finds that attractive. No, seriously, this horse dung heap of a man apparently has juice in the West. Must be the sheep. Seth MacFarlane stars in A Million Ways to Die in the West. Rated R for Rancho Rectum Relaxo.
Oh, we're going to get to the relaxed rectum a little bit later. Aren't we?
Oh my God.
We are definitely going to get to the relax. I can't believe I just actually had that sentence come out of my mouth. Never in the history of ever did I foresee myself saying the words, "We'll get to the relaxed rectum later." We're here. We're here for a good time. Whew. This is going to be one of those shows, isn't it?
Yep.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Well, let's get into who is in this film. The movie stars Seth MacFarlane, Liam Neeson, Charlize Theron, Amanda Seyfried, Neil Patrick Harris, Giovanni Ribisi, and Sarah Silverman. However, there is a sort of almost starring in this. It was speculated, according to IMDb, that Reese Witherspoon turned down a role in the film and apparently has publicly decried the script. So, apparently. We don't know for sure who she was supposed to play, but apparently she wanted nothing in it. However, we need to actually point out a horse dung load of cameos in this film. And yes, there are spoilers in these cameos, so again, you've been forewarned. Appearing in this film in small roles Ryan Reynolds, Ewan McGregor, Kaylee Cuoco, Christopher Lloyd, Jamie Foxx, the voice of Patrick Stewart, Gilbert Gottfried, and Bill Maher. Whew.
Ryan Reynolds?
Oh, yes. Ryan Reynolds is in this film. So is Ewan McGregor. Yeah, we'll get to those in a bit.
Help me, Obi-Wan.
Okay, so let me get into this here. So Kaylee Cuoco only appears in the unrated version of the film. Ryan Reynolds is the guy that Clinch shoots in the bar when he arrives. And Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson's Star Wars co-star, is the guy that everyone was laughing at the fair. And finally someone says, "Why are you laughing?" He's like, I don't know. So there are a ton of cameos in this film. So you have to have an eagle eye for this one.
They're very well costumed.
Oh, yeah.
though.
I mean, some are very, very, very obvious, but some you have to sit there and go, huh? Oh, yeah. The movie is written by Seth MacFarlane, Alex Sulkin, and Wesley Wild, and is directed by Seth MacFarlane. The film actually had a budget of $40 million. Domestically, it made $43 million, and worldwide took in $87 million. So, made bank, made its money back for sure. When it was released on the May 30th, 2014 weekend, it debuted at number 3 with $16.7 million. Debuting at number 1 also that week was Maleficent, that brought in $69.4 million. Number 2 was the second week of X-Men Days of Future Past with $32.5 million. Also in the top 5, at number 4 was Godzilla in its third week, and number 5 was Blended in its second week. So yes, this film is 10 years old this year. So we could have talked about this during our Movies of 2014 episode of Keep Watch Pass, but we hadn't watched it at that point. So we'll come back to that one. We'll put a pin in that one for a second here. So there were awards for this film, or at least some nominations. At the 41st People's Choice Awards, Charlize Theron was nominated for Favorite Comedic Movie Actress. She lost to Melissa McCarthy. At the 2015 International Film Music Critics Awards, Joel McNeely was nominated for Best Original Score for a Comedy Film. He lost to Alexander Desplat for The Grand Budapest Hotel. And then there's the awards on the other side. At the 35th Golden Raspberry Awards, Seth MacFarlane was nominated for Worst Director. He lost to Michael Bay for Transformers: Age of Extinction. He was also nominated for Worst Actor, lost to Kirk Cameron for Saving Christmas. Charlize Theron was nominated for Worst Actress. She lost to Cameron Diaz for The Other Woman and Sex Tape. And Seth MacFarlane and Charlize Theron were nominated for Worst Screen Combo. They lost to Kirk Cameron and his ego for Saving Christmas. Yes, that's who they lost to.
Is that a thing?
That is a thing. That is an absolute thing.
An actor and his ego.
Well, I guess we're going to have to watch Saving Christmas one of these days and go down that road. And,
I think so.
Oh, boy. But the reason we are here, and not just because this is the very definition of a very Carrie movie, which, again, I feel like if ever there was an It's Not That Bad dictionary, beside the term very Carrie movie would be the poster for this film.
It truly would.
But no, it's the critics. Over at Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an audience score of 41% and a tomatometer of 33%. But let's throw in the other numbers while we're at it. Over at Metacritic, the film has a Metascore of 44. At IMDb, it has a 6.1 star rating, giving it a 61% score. Over at Letterboxd, 2.4 stars out of 5, giving it a 48% score. And at the movie database, it sits at 60%, giving this film the aggravated aggregate of 47.83. Now, as I'm looking at this, it's not really a wide spread. Everything seems to be around the same. I'm not surprised that the critics over at Rotten Tomatoes have the lowest rating for this film because this is not a film for the critics. But at a 47.83 aggravated aggregate, do you think that's harsh still, or do you think it's accurate?
I think it's harsh because you know what? It's funny. Like, I don't understand why. I don't know, like, judging by Seth MacFarlane's run of brand of humor, I mean, it's completely on point. Like, why would it be panned as far as his directorial work? Like, it was funny. It was exactly on point.
Yeah, I think that's the part that surprises me the most. You know the film is written, directed, and starring Seth MacFarlane.
Mm-hmm.
The hell were you expecting?
Of which I had never actually seen him until this movie. So I had no idea who he was or,
right.
Like.
I mean, he does star in The Orville, but we've never actually sat down and watched that show.
No.
But the thing is, though, Family Guy and Ted, we knew exactly what we were getting. And when you watch A Million Ways to Die in the West, it's like, yes, no, okay. It's all of that in the West. It makes you have, if you like Family Guy, you are going to like this film.
And the writing was completely on point. Like, it's
on brand for sure.
Exactly. His, pretty much every scene was written for him because obviously
he wrote it. So yeah,
he wrote it and he was delivering the dialogue as Stewie or as Ted would.
No, it very much feels like, for lack of a better term, Brian Goes West. That's kind of what it feels like.
Right.
Okay, but let's get into the breakdown of this film. Of course, we have to start with Seth MacFarlane as Albert Stark. And again, yes, this is very much Family Guy humor. This is going to be that you see the name, you know exactly what you're getting. So this isn't like all of a sudden, from the mind of Stanley Kubrick comes a bunch of dick and fart jokes. Like, no, that's not going to happen. It's Seth MacFarlane. You know what you're getting. But how was he as an actor for you?
You know what I really enjoyed? Like, he knew the assignment. He definitely understood the just complete, like, how sad this poor sheep farmer is, how hopelessly in love. He's a hopeless romantic. Even if he can't, he literally has the wool over his eyes at how incredibly horrible this woman is for him, but yet he still blindly follows her and is in love with her, in spite of her completely ditching him and running for the mustache.
The mustachioed man
the
himself.
Mustache King.
I mean, if we go back to when we talked about America's Sweethearts, and we talked about that Billy Crystal wrote that film for basically himself to star in the main role, but instead it ended up going to John Cusack. But it's still Billy Crystal's words writing for a very Billy Crystal character. So when we're watching John Cusack, it's like, wow, yes, I could see that this was meant to be Billy Crystal's role. Here, yeah, Seth MacFarlane is writing for himself. So the cadence of his moments are spot on because, well, let's be honest, whenever we write in our own voice. True story. True story.
Who the talks like this?
Right? Oh my God. Oh my God.
Direct quote of
from Carrie.
I reading
me.
Jay's script.
Yes. Which my response is, I talk like that. And all of a sudden I have this like week of like inner anxiety of like, do I talk wrong? Do I talk not human? Am I speaking in code? But the thing is, it's a Seth MacFarlane comedy. So it makes, I think it would be really weird if you put anyone else in that role because that delivery is very much the cadence of the comedy himself. Like really, there is a cadence to Brian when you watch Family Guy. There is the cadence to Ted. And that's where that script comes from. And that's where the comedy is. Maybe a young Dennis Leary could have taken that role. But even that would have been so gruff. Because there are moments where I'm like, okay, that's a very kind of Dennis Leary. That part where he's in the bar and he's literally listing off many of the ways that they could die. And I'm like, this feels like modern Dennis Leary.
No, but you know what, though? It was so insightful, and it was so, like, you know, it's almost kind of like the way the character is written is that he's just a daft sheep farmer. He doesn't really know much, and he's not even very good at his lot in life.
Yeah.
But really, when you tune in to what he's actually saying, he's actually probably the smartest guy in the room.
Oh, yeah.
And
I mean, if Seth MacFarlane looked like, I don't know, Stallone, it wouldn't work, right? Seth MacFarlane is not a badass outlaw. Seth MacFarlane needs to be the witless sheep farmer, and it works perfectly. Like, he wrote the character. I don't want to say he is the character because I don't think Seth MacFarlane is a witless sheep farmer in real life, but
no, I think he's quite brilliant, actually.
Right. But even in the way during the gunfight at the end, and remember, I said I was going to spoil this film. So again, final warning. All right, you're in for the long run. Okay. Even the way he beats Clinch in the end, it's recognizing his own inabilities and then using that to his advantage. Like, he's a smart guy in a town of dumbass people in the West. And during a time when danger lurks around every corner, under every table, and in every toilet. Charlize Theron as Anna. Your thoughts?
Oh my God. I mean, she was absolutely perfect. I couldn't even imagine if indeed Reese Witherspoon was supposed to play her. Just saying. It wouldn't have been as good, I think. I think she was absolutely perfect. She was tough enough to go head to head with Liam Neeson.
Mm-hmm.
However, she was also, she just had that sweet, like, recognizing and seeing Seth MacFarlane's character for more than he even sees himself. She saw the good in him. And she really, I wasn't even sure at first if it's that she genuinely wanted to help him reconnect with his ex-girlfriend or that she truly fell for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of like, aw, you know, like she played it so well.
I want to point this out here, okay, before I get into my talk about Charlize Theron. We are talking about an Academy Award winning actress in a film where someone, and we're not saying who yet, where someone fills a cowboy hat full of poop. With his
she
own butt.
made him do it.
I know, but
It's
still,
her fault.
still, Academy Award winning actress Charlize Theron in this film. But the thing is, you have to have someone badass in this role. Like, you have to have someone who comes across convincingly that they would be able to hold their own in a gunfight in the middle of a town. And Charlize Theron brings that. You know, if this film was done, say, 20 years ago, you're putting Sharon Stone in this film, and that works well. The thing with Charlize Theron is that not only is she a chameleon in some of her roles, but she has good comedic timing, and she likes to diversify the films that she does. Like Charlize Theron, despite the fact that she is Academy Award winning Charlize Theron, you need to put that on Front Street. This film has an Academy Award winner. But she works in this role because she's that perfect level of badass but compassionate, right? She is, smart and skillful, but not condescending, right? She doesn't overshadow. She's not overbearing. She is a kind, caring, like Anna is a kind, caring person. The fact that she feels bad and she, gave Clinch the what for shooting that guy to take his gold in a very cruel and heartless way, we see that Anna is a good person in a bad situation. And we see that Albert is a good person in a really bad town in a bad situation. So it kind of makes sense. Maybe it's like a kindred spirit, right? Someone who's just not supposed to be living that way. And I don't think it works if you put a more comedic actress in. The only other person that I could see like really, really pulling this off well, Selma Hayek would have been perfect in that role. But Charlize Theron is absolutely perfect in the role.
I could see Kate McKinnon rocking that role.
No. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no on that one because Kate McKinnon is more of a physical comedian, right? She comes on and all of a sudden you expect comedy. Charlize Theron comes on and you expect her to let the comedy happen around her. And she handles that kind of comedy very maybe Scarlett Johansson, because she's also pretty darn funny in her own right too. But I think Charlize Theron was perfect for the role. And then you get Amanda Seyfried, who played Louise, the girl that dumps Albert at the beginning of the film while he pines over her afterwards. Your thoughts on her?
I don't think I can say without being bleeped.
All right.
Dirty, dirty whore.
Really? That's all you got?
Yeah.
I mean, I got a bleep button here and I'm ready to use it. So you go right ahead.
She was such a bitch, but she was good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as far as I don't hate the actress, I really hate what she did to him. But, I see that it had to happen. It was almost kind of like, where was the buildup? Like it was just like one day he's having a really day and, well, she dumps his ass. Like, spoiler alert. There was no lead up to maybe I don't know, the camera caught her cheating or something.
Well, I mean, it caught her basically almost like a disappointed reaction when Albert kind of talked his way out of the gunfight at the beginning of the film. And, we're talking about a town where people are supposed to be brave and courageous and not back down from a fight. And that's not Albert. Albert talks his way out of, he has a plan to look busy in a bar fight so he actually doesn't get into a bar fight. That's the kind of guy Albert is, right?
He's smart.
Well,
He's
very
smarter than the rest of them.
But the thing is, Louise isn't looking for smart and caring. She's looking to be taken care of. She's looking to be pampered. She's looking to be basically a princess at this point, it feels like. So the thing is, though, we're not supposed to like Louise. And if Louise was actually a good person, then we would want, if she was a good person, then we want Albert to get back together with her. But we don't want that. We want Albert to get together with Anna. So in making Louise all about a biatch, Amanda Seyfried has done the exact job that we need her to do.
Oh, very true.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can't have her be sweet. You can't have her be pleasant and adorable and perfect for Albert, because that's not the way the story's supposed to go. The story is supposed to end with Anna finding her own salvation in Albert. And through their, partnership, Albert becomes more than what he was, and Anna becomes who she really wants to be. Louise is in the way of that, not necessarily like stopping it from happening, but just being the center of Albert's affections at that point. And Anna is helping him see that he's more than that. So,
yeah. I love the turnaround, though. It's like eventually she's going to wind up on her own.
yeah. But I think the smart thing here is that Louise never really tried to win him back at the end, right? She made her bed and she slept in it. And it was literally while Neil Patrick Harris is keeled over in the middle of the street before the gunfight, and Albert's like, "No, she's yours. Like I thought it was what I wanted, but no, she's all yours." Like that's the moment. There's no Louise never wanted to go back, which I think is smart writing on Seth MacFarlane's part in writing Louise. Louise makes sense as being all about a biatch, and that's fine because sometimes you need someone in a film to not like, and that's okay. It is a little hard, though, to not like Neil Patrick Harris as Foy, the mustachioed man. So I'm just going to back away from the microphone a little bit here. Carrie, the floor is yours. The microphone is yours. Neil Patrick Harris as Foy.
How could I not love a movie with NPH? I mean, he is just so damn funny and so versatile. And it didn't surprise me one bit that there was the mustache song. Everything he's in has to turn into a musical, right? Oh my God. Of course, his role is supposed to be so damn unlikable. He is the wealthy mustache king, the mustache grooming product king of the Wild West. And, he's just so arrogant and so damn good at it. And I love it. I am totally here for it.
For the record, I need to point this out. The song, If You've Only Got a Mustache, is actually based on a real song from the 1800s and slightly rewritten and redone for this film. So,
really?
Yes, there is an actual song that inspired this moment in the film.
Oh my God. Fascinating.
Yep. Like, that's the thing. Seth MacFarlane, and just getting back to the writing of this, Family Guy works because it knows exactly what it's talking about, and it's really smart comedy. It really is. Like, yes, there's a lot of pop culture references, and I'm sure somewhere down the road we're going to go back and taking a look at songs, or whatever comedy shows from that era and sit there and say, well, that didn't age well, or wow, I forgot that reference. And we see that sometimes too, where we're watching like an old comedy movie and it's like, wow, Bill Clinton reference, that seems dated these days, so there are things that are going to come across as dated. But I think the thing is, there was a lot of research put in to the actual writing of this. Like, clearly Seth MacFarlane and team did some research into the Wild West, like the frontier times, and used that as basis for the comedy. So the fact that they take a song, If You've Only Got a Mustache, written in 1864, and they rewrote the lyrics for this film. Like, that's smart. That's really, really smart. And yes, that dance number is hilarious. But yeah, it's NPH.
Mm-hmm.
It is freaking NPH. And say what you will about any of the films that he's in, but when he's on the screen, he has a habit of stealing the scene, right?
1000%. Again, he is the most likable actor as an unlikable character and plays it so damn well.
Yeah.
And as you said, steals the scene.
I mean, by all rights, if you were to just write down a character sketch of who Barney Stinson is without ever seeing a single episode of How I Met Your Mother if you read the character description of Barney Stinson, you would sit there and go, that guy's an asshole. Yeah, that guy's a womanizing asshole. And then it's Neil Patrick Harris, and you're like, oh, I love that womanizing asshole. You know? But like, even in Harold and Kumar.
I was going to say, when he steals their car, but he's NPH.
Right.
And so it's okay that...
You could take the rest of Harold and Kumar, go to White Castle, leave me the NPH. Like, literally, someone needs to stitch a supercut of all the NPH scenes from every Harold and Kumar film, and I would watch the crap out of that. NPH is... Even when he's not acting, right? Go to Disney Plus. There is a thing where they're, basically showing the opening of Galaxy's Edge at Disney World, and it's hosted by Neil Patrick Harris. And I'm just like, I will watch Neil Patrick Harris for 2 hours talk about Star Wars. I'm all for this. In this, yes, you want him to be so over the top. You want him to be just so outlandish that you're like, he is a horrible person. I love him.
I so wanted him to say, well, that's all right then.
Yes, but remember, Doctor Who and that episode with him in it had not come out at this point.
I know.
But apparently in this film, there is a part where he says, challenge accepted. And then How I Met Your Mother came to be what it was, really. And people are like, oh, I get it now. So.
Love it.
Giovanni Ribisi, who played Edward, Al's friend, the one who is in a relationship with Sarah Silverman, even though he's never had sex. Your thoughts?
I think you literally just summed up his entire character arc. But you know what? He was so incredibly perfect. And I love at the end, he was like, oh my God. Yeah. You know what? I thought that was so funny, right? Just the whole concept of like, you've got the love lost best friend, and then he who is engaged to, well, let's just call her a prostitute. And it's her job to sleep with everyone in town.
10 men on a light day.
And yet they've never had intercourse. They didn't consummate their relationship until their marriage.
Exactly.
So
they were waiting.
It was so funny.
Saving themselves.
Oh my God, it was so funny. So funny.
Here's the thing. Ed needs to be a bit clueless. He does, right? Because he's with Ruth, and Ruth is with a minimum of 10 men per day in various different ways, of which she is very happy to share with him, but, saving themselves, right?
Yeah, it's like, hi, honey, how was your day at work? Well.
I'm not going to sit down for a bit, but,
Oh.
But the thing is, there were times when I felt Ed was a touch much.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he was just perfectly clueless.
There were moments where I'm like, okay, dial it down just a touch. But the moments with him, with Sarah Silverman, the two of them together played off each other so well, because it was just so stupidly innocent between the two of them. Like, really stupidly innocent.
You know who I thought was hilarious was the bar owner or the pimp lady where, she's basically like, I don't understand this relationship. Like, you're totally okay with your girlfriend doing these things. And well, if I know, just like, this is okay in your world. Like, you're okay with this.
For the record, the owner of the whorehouse is played by Alex Borstein, who is the voice of Lois Griffin in Family Guy.
Okay, because I was like it was just such a small part, but she was so great. She was so funny. She literally, that's all you see of her. Just that one introduction, and then you never see her again.
However, we have also talked about her already before on this podcast in the very first episode of Grading on a Curve, because she was Halle Berry's best friend in Catwoman. She was Sally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So there are movies with her in it that I'm sure we will get to. But she was also Elizabeth in this TV show, Son of Zorn, which I freaking love. Son of Zorn. It was a phenomenal show. So if you haven't had a chance to go watch that, go watch that. It's a treat. But we already mentioned her a little bit. Sarah Silverman, who played Ruth, Ed's girlfriend. Your thoughts?
Oh, I loved her. Oh my God, I love Sarah Silverman. She's so funny. She is so incredibly funny. I don't think any other actress could have been so damn likable in that role. Like, it's literally her job to sleep with everybody in the town except her own fiance.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, oh my God, she is just adorable and so likable and she's so funny. And she can really pull off being like just one of the guys, like sitting around the bar. And, you know, I couldn't have pictured any other actress playing this role.
Yeah. I mean, you could have put other actresses in the role, but Sarah Silverman brings the perfect level for this. The fact that both Ruth and Ed kind of have rose-colored glasses, right? They see the world in this picture perfect, despite what she does for a living, right? The fact that they're negotiating with Millie, with Alex Borstein's character, the owner of the whorehouse, the fact that they're negotiating as to when is the best time to make sure that Ruth is back in order for her to be able to let some guy give her anal. Like, that is perfect because it's just so innocent on the two of theirs part. Like, so 5:30, okay.
And you know what? The fact that, again, they live in a rose-colored world where their best friend is like completely dark and gray, you know, like he's literally naming off how many ways you can die. And they're like, but life is beautiful. And, you know, there's a bar fight going on around us, but we're completely in love and hopelessly optimistic.
Right.
Again, I think they knew the assignment and they played it well.
Edward works when he's with Ruth best in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Edward and Al, not as much. I mean, they work well enough, but Giovanni Ribisi is at his best in this film when paired with Sarah Silverman. Like, spot on. Liam Neeson as Clinch Leatherwood. Your thoughts?
Ooh. He was very good at being very unlikable. You know what? And I guess I was more hopeful that, you know, I'd really like his character or find something likable about him. Oh, he was so good at being bad. I did not like him. I think his violent nature was actually a bit over the top and a little off-putting. For such a comedy movie, like, he was just downright abusive and I didn't like it.
But I think in being that way, it counters Anna and allows us to see Anna in a much better light. You know,
I know, but you still don't want to see just that level of like ownership. Like he treated her very badly.
But I find it interesting, and just let me kind of paint the picture here. We're talking about Liam Neeson, who we are very familiar with his action films. We are very familiar with, you know, the films like Taken, and, you know, basically Liam Neeson has been turned into that stern, serious action star. And his next big project is going to be playing Frank Drebin Jr. in the next Naked Gun film. So he's kind of taken on what Leslie Nielsen did with the Naked Gun films, which is fine because Leslie Nielsen in his younger career was playing serious cop and action movie roles and then moved into comedy with Airplane and then the Naked Gun films. Liam Neeson to me is one of the few people in Hollywood who can take that gruff action movie serious role persona and translate it into a comedy film while still being gruff and rugged. And I think there's not many actors that you could get that would work in this film like that. Jason Statham, maybe. Because I think Jason Statham does have a level of comedic timing in his films. And I think if put into a proper comedy, like Jason Statham in the Expendables films, he's sarcastic and he gets some good one-liners, but it's still an action film. I would love to see Jason Statham branch out and do a straight comedy, right? Even if it's something akin to a John Cena role, right? Where he's still the action star, but it's definitely a comedy film. I think Jason Statham could pull that off if given the opportunity. Liam Neeson does that here.
I don't even think it's put any actor in the same role, but if you have that same intensity of like absolute women controlling, owning, like that level of disrespect, like I think what didn't sit well with me was when he had her by the neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, okay, I get that this is, the Western like thing, right? Yeah. I get that they wanted to paint him as a really bad person and they did it well, but it just, in a comedy movie, that one scene was kind of like, whoa, there was a line and it just vaulted that line.
But you see, it's shortly after that scene where he gets multiple comeuppances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he gets a daisy in the ass and then he gets killed by Albert. Like he loses the gunfight.
No, I know that, but it's like they could have had that same commanding male presence without being so incredibly womanizing. Like, you know what I mean?
I can't see how there are some people who would not like that scene. I get that. I think if you're going to really sour the character of Clinch, so you are really rooting for when he gets his comeuppance, yeah, that's one way to go about it, right? The kind of horror movie rules, right? Be a dick to the final girl and you're dead, right? So he did, and he was. All right, let's talk about the cameos in this film. Like, there are many that are chock-a-block and some that are really, really hard to see, right? The voice of Patrick Stewart comes on, I'm like, okay, brilliant, it's Patrick Stewart, I know that, right? Jamie Foxx coming in to, shoot at the targets in the very inappropriate gun challenge at the fair, perfect. But I'm going to turn it around here. Rather than go through each cameo and say, oh, it was funny, I'm going to ask you this. Was there any cameo that didn't land for you?
Ooh. Well, I think I was more completely oblivious to a lot of the cameos. Like, I had no idea about Ryan Reynolds. I had no idea he was in there.
I think the only cameo that did nothing for me in this film was Bill Maher. Here's the guy who comes into the fair to introduce the band, and he does a little mini comedy routine before introducing the band, and it's like, I'm not a fan of Bill Maher's stand-up to begin with. And meh.
But it was pretty, appropriate for him.
Oh, no, there are not many people you would put in that role that it would work. Again, maybe like if you had Jerry Seinfeld come in to do that, but you're not putting Jerry Seinfeld in A Million Ways to Die in the West. What is the deal with the horse dung? Huh? No, because then every joke would have to be a Seinfeld joke, and that just wouldn't be funny. It really wouldn't. All right.
What about the barn dance scene, though?
Oh, the barn dance scene was great.
How great was that?
But Bill Maher's cameo in that scene, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's just me. Like, Jamie Foxx coming out, that was awesome, right? Christopher Lloyd being found in the barn working on a DeLorean.
Oh, my God.
Freaking brilliant.
That was funny.
Right? Right. Even the idea of Gilbert Gottfried, right? As the president, like, oh my God, it's brilliant. The minute you hear Gilbert Gottfried's voice, you're like, yes, thank you. We have more Gilbert Gottfried.
What's that? Oh, it's the mayor.
All right. We need to talk about the potty humor in this. And there's a lot of it. Like, I get, we are, how best do I put this? Carrie and I are both pretty broken. We're not normal thinkers. You know, we see someone get a ball in the groin and we laugh hysterically. Is there any point in this film, aside from the Liam Neeson scene where Clinch is choking Anna, because I mean, yeah, I do get that, but is there any joke or gag in this film that made you go, oh no?
Well, I mean, yes, but I promptly laughed after. I mean, let's recap the oh God.
Let's see.
His parents.
Yeah. So you got Al's parents farting profusely, and then finally one giant fart with what sounds like a little squirt that came out with it. And he's like, it came out my penis. Also, don't watch this with your kids in the room. But
I really liked the when he's when they're working on target practice and they start shooting at the outhouse. and then
he comes out. Yeah.
He comes out.
Or, yes, the aforementioned Neil Patrick Harris being slipped something that clearly did not sit well with his stomach and then coming out for the gunfight. Clearly with the case of the runs, what we like to call the Taco Bell special, grabbing the nearest person's hat and dropping trow and pooping in it and filling it, then having to reach for another hat and filling that hat as well. Whew.
And then tripping over it.
And they show you the hat, and those beans don't look fresh. Let me tell you that way. But I think the thing with genre humor, taking a genre film and turning it into a comedy, this film strangely works as a Western comedy film. And genre comedy is not easy to do, right? You take a look at The Ridiculous Six, and we have taken a look at The Ridiculous Six. This is a way better film than The Ridiculous Six, by far. Same thing with Wagons East, which starred John Candy. And I do appreciate that was John Candy's last ever film, but it wasn't funny. This is funny. Like, this is really good humor. If you go into it knowing that this is from the guy who gave you Family Guy and Ted.
And that's exactly the point, is like, if it, much like A Ridiculous Six, right? If you watch it for what it is, it's like, okay, genre humor, I get it. But this one, it's like, it was really smartly funny.
Yeah.
Like, it was well written. I mean, was it wrong? Of course it was wrong.
Of course it was wrong.
But
Patrick Harris pooped in a hat. It was wrong.
That's the beauty of it. It's like, you know what? Do not take this too seriously. Definitely have fun with it and just enjoy. And
yeah.
Damn, was it enjoyable.
I mean, here's like, if you're the kind of person that watches Family Guy and does not laugh once during the half-hour show, you're probably not going to like this film. And that's okay. That's okay. But if you like that comedy, if you like those jokes and that kind of cadence of the comedy, because it does, it feels like a Brian monologue at times, you're going to enjoy it. And that's good. Okay. Before we go, though, before we wrap this up, I want to ask you one question. We kind of mentioned this at the beginning of the show. This film came out in 2014. So it is 10 years old this year. And recently, we did an episode of Keep Watch Pass on the movies of 2014. So, Carrie, I'm going to ask you here, and I'm going to keep it nice and simple. A Million Ways to Die in the West. Keep, watch, or pass.
Oh my God. I at least will watch it again and probably again because it falls under a very Carrie movie criteria. I would dare put this in my keep pile. This is a movie that, again, checks all the boxes to be a very Carrie movie. It's crude and it's funny and it's smart and it's witty and it's wrong and it has incredible actors like playing their part perfectly. Not necessarily the best roles of their career, but incredibly enjoyable. And I absolutely loved it. I would put it as a keep.
Yeah, I'd put it as a definite solid watch. I don't know if I'd classify it as keep, but it would be a very, very easy watch. And if no other films fit the keep category, I could slide this in because it is funny as hell.
Because it's a very Carrie movie, it would be in our shelf.
Well,
you would be voluntold to keep it.
Right. Well, let me explain here. I mean, we're not talking soul plane here. So,
no.
if you were to fall asleep while watching this film and you pinned
Could
my
happen.
arm and I could not reach the remote control, I would happily watch this film. I would be fine. I would not rage out.
With a dead asleep arm.
Okay, so a little blood loss, but that is only one of a million ways to die in the West.
Would you hear it over the snoring, though?
Well, I might have to turn it up, right? But now we get to the final order of business here. So, Carrie, who is your MVP of A Million Ways to Die in the West?
I really enjoyed all of the actors and what they brought to the role. I mean, how could I not love NPH? But he's not my VIP.
Or your MVP.
He's not my MVP. I think Seth MacFarlane wrote the script and delivered it perfectly in his voice. Not my MVP.
You're stalling.
I am. I have to go with Sarah Silverman because, oh my God, like I said, she was so genuinely likable and so funny and just so like spot on in her character. I love how, again, she was able to like she was able to make like a prostitute a really likable person and you want to be her best friend, even though half the town wants to be her best friend or her bed friend. You know what? And she was just one of the guys sitting and drinking with, her fiance and with Al. Like, she was so likable. How could you not like her? Adorable.
There is something to be said about Sarah Silverman. And yes, I completely agree. Like, Greg the Bunny is a hilarious show made even funnier because Sarah Silverman is so good. And she is the perfect person for that role. Like, some of the lines of dialogue that Ruth spoke could literally only be said by Sarah Silverman. I fully and wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I won't be able to sit for a while.
Right. But I mean, like, even going back into, watch when she did the I'm Matt Damon song on the Jimmy Kimmel show as part of that whole Matt Damon quote unquote feud that goes on with that show. That was brilliant. If you have not found that video, go find that video. It is hilarious. No, my MVP has to be Charlize Theron. And I think because there's multiple factors here. A, as mentioned before, Academy Award winning actress Charlize Theron could have, once winning that award, just taken all serious roles and be that very, very serious actor, only taking prestige roles. No. We're talking about freaking Aeon Flux here. We're talking about someone who was in Hancock. We're talking about someone who was in Prometheus and Snow White and the Huntsman and Mad Max, which For the record, that hair of Charlize Theron in this film is not real. She had actually had to shave her head for Mad Max Fury Road. So that was a wig that she was wearing through this whole film.
Oh, wow.
But the thing is, sometimes you need a character that is the serious character, that does let the crazy happen around them. And if Charlize Theron wasn't as good as she was, then the connection to Albert is not believable at all. She made Anna perfect for Albert, despite where both were coming from. So,
you know what I love is the line where he starts to realize his worth thanks to her.
mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, that makes the movie. It really, you know, it solidifies that it doesn't matter that his ex-girlfriend left him for someone else. Like, he's a good person.
Yeah.
And he's worthy of love.
There was a strange amount of wholesome messages in a film that also includes Neil Patrick Harris into a hat, someone fart squirting out their penis, and a man's head being crushed by a giant block of ice. I can't believe I just said that sentence, but here we are. Carrie, thank you so much for surviving through this, because there's a million ways to die in the West, and luckily one of them is not watching A Million Ways to Die in the West, so that's good. But to you, our listeners, you guys know the drill. If there's a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned or is just so bad that there is no way in the West that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on social media at NotThatBadcast, or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, make sure that you check out all of our other shows, including There Can Only Be One, Spin, Shuffle, Skip, Keep Watch, Pass, and Grading on a Curve. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.